What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Exchange. And look, I got a co-host.
Hi, Joe Standish here. Been a high school football coach for about a decade now. Run a couple of fantasy leagues. I've got some insight on quite a bit of the college game and the NFL that I'm going to throw in today. And we're going to have some fun with it today.
Yeah.
And take it away, Tim.
Heck yeah. So, a lot of happening with the SEC, Big 12, Big 10. All these conferences are going up, blowing up, pretty much.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to take over. We're going to get into that right now. Alright, so Joe, what's going on with this Big 12 SEC? These two conferences have had more drama than the entire cast of the Jersey Shore in just the last couple of weeks.
Well, it's kind of reminds me of like the 90s Big Ten, where they just beat the crap out of each other over and over and over again, and it just doesn't give anybody an absolute, dominant force in it. So, yeah, games are going to get chippy. Yeah, crazy things are going to happen. And, Sanders is probably going to have his stuff get under the water, and it's never going to be heard of again.
Yeah.
Like, nothing happened. It's just going to stay internal. Or at least that's what the reports are saying.
Yeah. And I think what it comes down to, like, let's start with the Big Ten, because that's the easiest one to go through.
Right.
Indiana, Ohio State. The big matchup that we've been waiting for, see how Indiana would compare to one of the big dogs in the conferences. It did not go so well for Indiana. That first drive looked pretty good. Drove down the field. I think it took like 6 minutes off the clock, 13 plays, touchdown. After that, nothing.
Ohio State had their number. They had their number. They knew what they were going to do. They studied film, and they came out and was a dominant force. But that's what Ohio State generally does. Ugh, I'm a Michigan fan, so I hate that. I hate saying that, but it's true. It's true. They normally are a dominant force, and they usually do very, very well against other Big Ten teams.
Yeah. And then it's not like Indiana just all of a sudden got talented players. They have a lot of fifth, sixth-year seniors that have been playing together for that long. And when you have that on a team, you get results like this. When you face teams 5 or 6 times, you get familiar, you get repetitions, but when then you come up against a big roadblock, like Ohio State, that's when the talent starts showing. That's when the differential starts to come to play.
Well, you just start to see what the recruiting does. You can have all the momentum in the world in your culture, like Indiana has done, and then face a formidable foe that has also built a culture, but has also got a bunch of 4- and 5-star athletes. And when you put those two things against each other, that's when you have that colossal collapse that Indiana had. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't see those teams coming back from that and start really competing with those better teams. Sometimes that kind of a team is going to take that loss as a learning moment, and they're going to move forward. And I think that they probably do deserve a shot.
Okay. So you think Indiana still deserves to be in the 12-team playoff after that showing against Ohio State?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I get what you're saying, because you look at programs like Boise State, TCU, they had those really good 2-3 years where that TCU offense was off the charts.
Oh, yeah,
They
absolutely.
were beating everyone, but they came out of nowhere. But they used that momentum to build that program up, and now you're looking at TCU in the Big 12 as a contender each year. Now, they might not live up to that each year, but still, they're in that conversation. And that's what a year like this for Indiana could do in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They should absolutely build on this season, even if it doesn't turn out the way that they hope. You know, even if another team slides in, um, you know, anything can happen with the playoff committee. You know, they didn't let Florida State in, so
That was my next point. So Indiana getting, would you call it a blowout loss? 38-15.
I mean, I think if you watched the game and you saw some of the ways that team scores, I think that Ohio State just overpowered them with athletes. Whereas when they get into a game against like a Tulane or against a BYU, I think they match up pretty evenly, and that Indiana can come away with those wins. So to throw one of those teams in at number 12 is also kind of a question mark.
Okay. Not a bad point. Because there were some plays where Indiana just gave it to Ohio State. That muff punt where Ohio State recovered it at the 2-yard line. You can't do that to a team like Ohio State. You can't punt. You can't give up a punt return to, I think it was Sonny Styles. Maybe. I think. But yeah, you can't do that to a team like Ohio State. You got to make them earn it. And Indiana didn't. They just gave it to them. What I was making a point with Indiana last year, Florida State, is that Florida State didn't get in last year. They threw a whole fit about it. Then they're like, all right, we'll show them in our bowl game. They got paired up with Georgia and lost 63-3.
Folded.
Like, I know Jordan Travis wasn't there. They had
They
a lot of
folded so hard that the lawn chair collapsed and it hasn't came back, and we don't know if it's gonna come back because right now it looks horrible in Florida State.
Yeah.
That looks like a tire on fire going down a hill, and it's just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and it's week after week because it's like 1 week it's a blowout, the next week they get blown up. They feel like they're going to contend, and then it ends up getting handed to them. So
yeah.
That's one of those big. It was so they felt so deflated from not getting into that last year that they haven't recovered from this year, and they may not recover next year.
No. So, yeah, that program's down bad right now, especially the way they started the season versus Georgia Tech, Boston College. I think they went 0-5 before their first win. And after that big game that you put up last season, that big talk, you need to be able to back it up. And people are jumping ship.
Yeah.
Future recruits are not. They're getting out of that Florida State train. So let's take a deeper look into the Big Ten, because now we have Oregon, who's guaranteed a spot in the Big Ten championship already. Then you have Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana. That's it. Those are the only teams that are qualified to actually potentially get in. Ohio State has the easiest road. They win, they're in. Penn State needs Ohio State to lose. They need to win their game against Maryland. And Indiana needs both those teams to lose and win against Purdue. I know it's rough for you because I think Ohio State has
I think
this.
it's Ohio State as well. I don't think there's any issue with Ohio State getting in there.
I know like it's difficult because what you don't want with an opponent coming in is the game before that team putting up 50+ points. And that's exactly what Michigan did. They won 50-3, 50-6 against Northwestern. Get some momentum rolling into this big rivalry game. And there's nothing more than these Michigan players want than to knock Ohio State out of the playoff conversation, out of the Big Ten conference game.
Oh, absolutely.
So this isn't just because Michigan's got a bad record this year. They've had a down year. No, this game, it's a reset. This is week one. We're coming for you. And this is why it's called The Game. There's no other title to this but The Game. So, what are your takes on it? Like, do you feel...
Well, Michigan's too many ups and downs against a solid Ohio State team. I'm a big Michigan fan, but it's going to be a rough ride this year.
Yeah.
That's the best way for me to accept that one.
Although,
Well, let's just try to get through our 60 minutes and try to do the best that we can. Let's put up all the points that we can, and try to throw in some trick plays because you may need them.
yeah, I know one player that always shows up during this game, and that's Donovan Edwards. That boy shows up for these games, especially the game.
He
Especially with, like,
scores.
He
scores.
He wasn't even the starter. He was behind Blake Corn.
He scores.
And he breaks it open in the second half, always. Like the last 3 years.
Well, let's roll the dice and hope it works.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I love a good upset. Another good news though, you have the number 1 recruit out of 2025
That
jumping
should come
ship and joining your Michigan Wolverines. And not only that, it's become a snowball effect where all these other recruits are leaving their programs to follow this one player to your program.
And honestly, as good as that sounds, it's actually bad for college football. All right. And the reason why is because now you're going to get this is the prelude to a bunch of essentially super teams and a bunch of average teams.
Okay.
And I don't see, unless schools start putting up money, which now it's a contest in money, which so the richest school is going to get the best players.
Well, he did turn down the $10.5 million offer from Michigan.
Originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
And there's just no report of what he's taking now.
Well, I assume it's probably more. But honestly, that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens. They're not going... Listen, at 18, 19, 20 years old, you're not looking to be at a certain program because you love the program. You're searching for your dollar bills. Like, that's what kids do. Like,
Yeah.
That's just what they do. And when you give kids money like that, they become monsters. And that's why we've had a lot more incidences. You're giving you're giving millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars to 18, 19-year-olds and 20, 21-year-olds. What do you think they're going to go do?
Right.
That's just what kids do. Now, when it comes to football and when it comes to, the game itself and how this whole thing affects it, is that when you have all these super teams, it's going to make it so all the kids want to go to Michigan, or all the kids want to go here or there or here or there. Georgia, or I want to go to Alabama. Oh, Saban retired. No one wants to go there now. Let's go somewhere else. Florida State blew it in a bowl game. Can't go there. I don't want to go there. And that's how kids' minds are.
Right. And that's why SMU is actually decent this year, because a lot of people left Alabama, Georgia, and they went to SMU. They went to a smaller school so they can have more face time. They had money that they could pull because they didn't have any high-profile players that they could spend the NIL money on.
Yeah, I actually know a kid who transferred from an SEC school to a Big Ten school, and he made about the same amount in an NIL deal, but the team that he transferred to is not successful this year, and it has been a rough ride, and that's just the way things are for that kid. And honestly, I don't know. He loves that he switched to the school that he's at because he loves the new coach that he's with.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as being successful and being on a team that has a competitive chance at a championship, it's just not going to happen.
Okay. So do you think these players? So do you think it's better to weed out the grit players, the players that just love the game of football, and that you see them at these true programs shining out? Do you think it's easier for these NFL scouts to pick out those players and look for the high money profile big school names?
Well, I'll be honest, when and what I know about the game that I've been around, they're looking for kids that are going from their sophomore year to their junior year. That's when you need to get into college camps. That's when you need to get your kids into college camps, is in between their sophomore and junior year. They're not looking for graduates for they're looking for graduates in 2026 right now.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yep.
That's what they're looking for. Sometimes graduates for 2027, but that's it. They're not. If you're older than that or before that, they don't really care. And it's like that every single year. They're looking at guys like that. Now,
Unless you're Archie Manning.
the thing is when you have a name behind you, that's when you end up getting into the better camps and you get into the better schools.
Yeah.
And that's why Arch Manning's at Texas.
Yeah.
Not just that he's a good quarterback, because he is a good quarterback, but he's still young and he has a name.
Right.
And when kids have a name, they have to feel like they're obligated to live up to that name. Some kids do it, some kids don't. Some kids get depressed with it. Some kids chase it so hard and burn out. It's actually kind of rough for that child.
Right.
But in the long run, they do end up becoming great in their own image. Kind of like a Charlie Woods, Tiger Woods. Charlie Woods is on his way to being an absolute dominant force. It's just going to take some time, and he's young.
Right. That's why I like that IMG Academy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have a good reputation for taking those high-profile players, bringing them in, getting them ready for that college level while they're still at grade level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they get them ready for that next step. I high respect for IMG Academy, and I know there's another one that I'm drawing a blank on the name of. But yeah, I love programs like that these players can go to and not get caught up in all the buzz around them. They keep them humble. They keep them level-headed. Game of football is what you concentrate on.
Yep. And
In
then
school.
it's like freshman year, bam, where's my NIL?
You take that
Yeah.
chain off, get my money.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into the SEC right now. Alabama and their loss to Oklahoma, because that shook up everything. Alabama finally trending up after getting over their loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vandy.
And they finally get back up there, and they stumble again. This time, their offensive line and defensive line could not do anything against that Oklahoma team. Games are won and lost in the trenches. Trenches, number one. You get your quarterback. Boom, that's number one. Number two is your line. That's what you focus on right there. Then defense is insurance with the offensive line. That's number two. Then you can fill in your skill players. Alabama doesn't have that right now. They got some skill players. They got Ryan Williams. They got Jalen Milroe. They have no one in the interior in the trenches.
Yeah, well, what I see with them is that, trying to move on off of Saban is probably one of the hardest jobs you got to take in the entire league. And trying
I feel
to
really
live
bad
up,
for Caleb DeBoer.
Yeah, and trying to live up to those expectations, as well as play very good teams with draft classes that continue to, keep getting less and less going into the
Yeah.
pro circuit. It just makes it a little bit harder for them. And I think they're going to have a rough time for the next couple of years, actually, to move off of the Saban era. But I think they're going to always be a team that competes.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to take big lumps and losses like they did from the Sooners this last weekend, but it's going to be okay, and they're going to be an all right team, and they're continually going to have winning seasons.
Yeah. Do you see them losing the Iron Bowl with Auburn this coming up week?
Auburn has a good program this year.
I know they don't have the record to back it up, but they're still talented. This is the SEC. This is someone's
I think anything
game of the
can
week
happen.
every week in another conference.
Yeah, anything can happen, man.
Yeah.
If you're in the game, you got a chance.
Exactly. So this is how the SEC looks like right now. Texas, number one. Then you have Georgia. Hold on, I wrote it down. Yeah, Georgia. Then Tennessee. Those are really the only three teams that can really have a chance unless all three of these teams fall. Alabama's right back in the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If all
They'd be
three of
going
them
against
fall,
Texas.
but odds are is that at least I'm going to say 2 of them win.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be Georgia and Texas in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Tennessee needs some help to make even the title game. They need both those teams to lose. I don't see Georgia losing to Georgia Tech, and I don't see Texas losing to Texas A&M.
No.
Texas A&M that's going to be a good game. We haven't seen that game in like 14 years.
Yeah.
Texas and Texas A&M, that Lone Star State rivalry game.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Saddle up, get your cowboy hats.
Let's see. Oh, the disasters of all disasters right now, which is the Big 12. Colorado loses. BYU loses. Arizona State is on a tear right now. They're not losing to anybody, apparently. Kansas State is still a wild card. That's BYU has no wins against anyone else in the top 4, so there's literally no tiebreakers in the top 4 teams.
Well, they'll figure it out. I don't know what the Big 12 is going to do, but they're going to have to figure it out because having 4 teams that essentially can all be conference champions is kind of a big problem. Or do they split it? Do they split it between all 4 teams at the end of the season?
I think they just flip a coin.
Or do they take it based on how many points each team's made?
Yeah.
Do they take it by not the win-loss record, by maybe points scored versus points given up?
I would go with the resume because Arizona State has the better resume.
They could do that too. Yeah, the resume is probably a better idea.
I think it would be Iowa State and Arizona State because Iowa State and Kansas State play this weekend. So the loser of that game, out. Like you have no shot. And the winner of that game has bragging rights because Kansas State is still a viable team to have on your resume.
Yes.
So I think it's Iowa State, Arizona State, Big 12 title game. I feel bad because I've been on Colorado because I thought no one was on Colorado's level after they stepped it up. And until they got punched in the mouth by Kansas.
Yeah.
And I think the running back had like over 300 rushing yards on him.
Yeah, they're done. I don't think they make it.
Yeah, if someone does that to you, you are not worthy of being in that conversation at all. But it's not just those teams that are in it. Baylor, Kansas State, TCU, and Texas Tech also have a shot. If those 4 teams fall,
yeah, anything can happen, man. They don't have the juggernaut teams. That's what I'm saying.
They don't. Yeah, they all left. They're in the SEC.
Yeah, the juggernauts left. They went to the harder conference.
And beneficial to Texas right now because they're
doing exceptionally well.
All right, last shot of conference predictions. Starting with the Big Ten, we kind of covered it. I'm going with Oregon and Ohio State.
Yep, I'm gonna have to agree. Actually,
Okay.
I'm with you on that one.
You got a winner out of that one?
Oregon.
Oregon. I knew it.
It's gotta be Oregon.
Yeah. I'm taking Oregon as well. Oregon's already taken care of business with Ohio State before. It was a 1-game point differential battle, but I think indoors at Lucas Oil Stadium, that Oregon speed is going to be a difference against that Ohio State defense, and they're not going to be able to keep up. SEC, I'm thinking Texas and Georgia.
Yep, and I agree. I don't see any reason why those wouldn't be in there.
These 2 teams have already met before. Georgia has the advantage this time. They have a healthier Quinn Ewers. They have a healthier receiving corps. The defense has gotten a look at what Georgia and Stetson Bennett's going to do.
Yeah.
They can game plan, correct it. Texas wins the SEC.
Yep, Texas got it. I'm agreeing with you.
Big 12, I got Arizona State. I don't know why that says Colorado. It's supposed to be Iowa State. Arizona State and Iowa State in the Big 12, and I have Arizona State on a roll.
Oh, you know, when you got wind in your sail, you ride it.
That's
and
right.
I'm on ASU side as well on that Big 12 championship.
Nice. ACC. This one was confusing because Clemson's still in the mix, and I wasn't sure. Like, I don't trust Clemson as a program. I don't trust Dabo Sweeney and his not figuring in the transfer portal. He's like, no, I'm just going to stay old school. I'm going to just bring in my recruits, my guys. That's it. And it's starting to show in the ACC where he's getting left behind, with SMU getting tons of transfers. I'd take SMU over Miami. Even though it's Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo, hell of a receiver, hell of a duo. But SMU overcomes it.
Yeah, I'm taking Miami in that one.
Yeah.
And the two names you just named are the reason why, man. I don't care what you're transferring in.
No.
Especially to SMU. Like, man, the U.
That must be easy for you. You just go like that, and then you go like that, and then it's Michigan.
Yeah, I don't do that one. It hurts my wrist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Other conferences. AAC. I got Army and Tulane. Army, one lost team, just coming off that loss to Notre Dame.
I'm going to take Tulane. I'm going to ride that green wave.
Do you still have these two teams?
Yep. Same,
Okay,
I still
okay.
got the same two teams. I'm
See-
going to take Tulane in that.
I also have Tulane. I love what's his name? Bryson Daly, that quarterback for Army.
Yeah.
Hell of a quarterback, hell of a runner. A one-trick pony's not going to do it in a conference title game.
Not in that game.
They don't throw it.
Yep.
They don't really have a perimeter game. Notre Dame shut that down. Tulane has very good speed on defense. So
And they got the Notre Dame film. So
yeah, I'm taking Tulane.
I'm with, ride that green wave.
Conference USA, I got Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky. I've only read about one of these teams, and that's Western Kentucky, and that offense is off the charts. I know they don't play anybody, but who they do play in this conference, they're on a whole other level.
There is a lot of yards getting put up by Western Kentucky, and they are not slowing down in the championship game.
No.
And I'm riding that Western Kentucky, team as well.
All right.
Yeah.
In the Mid-American Conference, I got Bowling Green going against Ohio. I've been liking Bowling Green lately, like earlier in the season, but they seem to stumble on themselves with dumb penalties. Their defense, linebacking crew is gullible. They bite on the play action a lot, and they get burned. Doesn't matter, though, because Ohio has more of a run game than a passing game. So Bowling Green, good on run defense. I'm taking Bowling Green.
See, I'm taking Ohio because of their run offense.
Okay.
I think that when you're able to, ground and pound
Side check.
and you can win, and it puts you into a championship game, the ground and pounder and the team that takes the clock generally wins that game too. So
That's why I'm very high in Boise State this year with Ashton Jenkins.
absolutely, I'm high on Boise State this year. Do you want to talk about the Mountain West now? Move on to them? Because I think they'll face UNLV in that game.
I think we have. Oh, I forgot to put the Mountain West. Oh yeah, no, that's right here, Mountain West.
Yeah.
Boise State, UNLV. They've already faced each other.
Yeah.
Boise State took care of business.
They're going to win again.
The question is, how many yards is Genty going to have at the end of this game? Because I've been checking on these games because usually they're not broadcast over here in Michigan. You have to either buy a package or go to a bar, somewhere to watch it.
You got to find a place or
So-
buy it.
What I see is like at halftime, I'm like, oh my god, like they're holding Genty to only 56 yards. They're in trouble. And then boom, second half. No, Genty turns it on, puts on like 200 yards in the second half.
Well, they made some adjustments.
Yeah.
You make some offensive adjustments. You change your blocking schemes just a little bit. You move a couple of guys,
Yeah.
in a different direction. And the next thing you know, that middle or that wide gets wide open. That hole just opens up like a freight train because you just took 2 steps in a different direction. It's crazy how football
blink
works
of an eye.
sometimes.
I always thought it was like they're trying to establish the passing game. They have a running game. They have it. They know they can establish that. I think they're trying to implement a passing game for the future, and then when they can't figure it out or they get behind, it's like, all right, Genty, you're in. Do your thing.
I think what they do is they use their run to complement the pass rather than most teams in today's era. They use the pass to complement the run.
Yeah.
And that's really how they do it nowadays.
You know, a team who's really good at doing that right now is the Detroit Lions.
The Lions are on a tear, man.
We'll get into that next episode. Sun Belt. I got Marshall going against Louisiana Monroe. I didn't put the Monroe on there, but it's Louisiana Monroe. That whole chant, "We are Marshall," Louisiana's going to take it. Louisiana's going to win this game and win the Sun Belt this year.
I'm with you on that. Warhawks. They're going to take it.
That whole team's just, like with the Lions, like the grit, the toughness, the mentality, that team has it.
They have it.
I don't know what's all those Carolina Reapers they've been eating down in Louisiana, but
I think they're going to end up winning that one. If you're placing bets, just go ahead and listen to what we said, and you should end up a pretty good winner.
And if you're feeling generous enough, go ahead and send some of that back.
Yeah, subscribe.
Link in description. All right. Playoff ranking prediction. That's going to happen tonight. I'm going to have this episode right around the same time, but you can't say that we put whatever the TV put. We're doing it before time market. It is 4:16 p.m. in Michigan. Number 1, Oregon. I know Ohio State has that win against the number 5 Indiana team. You can't put Ohio State over Oregon, which is the team that beat them. You just can't do it. I don't know if you have the same feelings.
Yeah, I don't want Ohio State being number 1.
Well, I know you don't.
That's me, man. But I mean, if I'm thinking about how that should be, I still think Oregon should be there. Ohio State is definitely a number 2 team. Texas should be the number 3 team moving forward.
Yep.
They've earned that spot. Penn State would be number 4. They've been playing outstanding football, and I think they deserve being in that top 5 spot, or in the top 5 there.
And facing like adversity with that Minnesota game last week, they came back, fought back. Drew Aller is the quarterback that they have been searching for with this program. Number 5, Notre Dame. They were 6th last week. To beat Army, you got to put them in. You got to move them on. Got to move
Absolutely.
them on. All right, number 6, Miami. You can't really take them down at all, even though they didn't play anyone
Real significance, but they played some good games.
Yeah. Then you got Georgia at 7, Tennessee at 8, Boise State at 9.
I think that's a good placement for Boise State, honestly. The way that they've been playing and the records that they've got coming to their running back there, it's going to have. They deserve to be in that spot.
And especially with the other teams above them falling. Right?
Yeah.
What you got to put the teams that lost still above Boise State? That ain't right. But
Right.
it's something that committee would do, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
this is looking pretty good.
They're a different bunch in that playoff committee. Then I have number 10, SMU.
Topping off the top 10 there, SMU, that run and shoot offense. That's just what they like to run. They ran it for years. They ran it in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they're still running it.
They still got it.
It's neat, man. But they're getting those transfers in, and they're winning games. And that's the most important part of football.
Right.
It's trying to win those games. And you got to do it with what they've got.
Number 11, they had to fall somewhere. Indiana, number 11. Not guaranteed a playoff spot right here. I'm putting them still in the top 12. They dropped 6 spots. They were 5. Now they're 6. Now they're 11. I couldn't drop them out of
So you're coming back to Indiana being in the top 12.
Yeah, Indiana's still in the top 12 in the playoff committee. In the playoff committee's eyes.
Yeah, okay. I can see
This
that.
is my opinion, not my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Then rounding out the top 12, I got Clemson. I don't see how you put these other teams that fell, like Alabama, BYU, Colorado, any of them. I don't see how you can put them above Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson 12. There we go.
All right, let's get into the picks. Last week I went 14-5. We're gonna start with Memphis versus Tulane. Gotta ride that green wave like he's been saying all show.
Yep, Tulane's gonna take this one.
Oklahoma State versus Colorado. Taking Colorado. Oklahoma State has a good defense. I don't think it's that good to slow this Colorado offense down. Deion Sanders is going to have his team on a roll after that devastating loss to Kansas. Colorado.
You know, I'm going to Oklahoma State.
Oh, bold prediction, put it up.
Yeah, take it. And the reason why is when you get blown out by a team, coming back the next week is real hard. It really depends on if he whips a winner. And that's what I've always said as a coach. When you whip a winner, you know, you really get after them on Monday. But when you lose as bad as they lost, when you whip a winner, and Colorado's a winning team, and when you take a big loss like that, and you come back the next week, you got to work them extra hard. All right, you got to make them do the extra sprints. You got to make them do the extra lifts. You got to make them do the extra, because the extra is what's going to make them try to come back and win this next game.
Right.
And I don't think that's what they do there. I don't think that's what Colorado does. And
It's hard
I
to do
think
it,
that's
yeah.
why Oklahoma State ends up winning this game,
Okay.
because that's not how Deion Sanders runs his team.
All right. I like that. Oregon State versus Boise State. I got Boise State. Genty taking that train all the way to the playoffs.
I'm with you, Genty all the way.
We got Mississippi State going against Ole Miss. You know what? I haven't been impressed with what Lane Kiffin has at Ole Miss. I got tons of respect for Jackson Dart and his talent. I don't think Lane Kiffin's done a good enough job to surround him with what he needs. And that is protection, a good running game, and some weapons. I think he's plucked here and there, but it's not to Jackson Dart's style. I'm taking Mississippi State.
You know, when I look at this game, I see that Mississippi State is on essentially a historical run. They don't normally make playoffs. They don't normally make bowl games or championships, and they don't usually make top 15. All right, that's just not who they generally are. Whereas Ole Miss has a tendency to be one of those top 15 teams. Now, the way Lane Kiffin runs his team versus Mississippi State's team, I'm actually going to go with Ole Miss on this one.
Okay.
I think that they win this.
Georgia versus Georgia Tech.
Georgia.
Yeah. Notre Dame versus USC. I'm obviously taking Notre Dame. They win, they get into the playoffs, and nothing better than to knock off your rival, the Trojans.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Notre Dame in this one. I haven't watched too much USC this year. I've watched a couple of Notre Dame games, and Notre Dame looks like a solid squad.
It's good to have a co-host that actually pick Notre Dame and not just not pick him just because I'm sitting right next to him.
Yeah, no.
UTSA versus Army. I'm going to take Army.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Army pick. That quarterback, he hides the ball well and he hands it off well.
Yeah, I know. Tennessee versus Vanderbilt. I got Tennessee. They need it. Just because they really need it. And I know Vanderbilt's one of those sneaky teams. They're both in Tennessee. There's not going to be that much of a home field advantage. Tennessee.
I'm going Vandy. Vandy's on a little roll.
Okay.
Let's take it.
Illinois versus Northwestern. Northwestern just got blown up by Michigan. I'm taking Illinois. That defense is too good at Illinois.
Illinois. I'm with you. I'm not a fan of Northwestern right now. They look terrible.
South Carolina versus Clemson. I got South Carolina.
See, I'm going to take Clemson.
Okay.
I'm going to take Clemson.
I'd say South Carolina likes to play that spoiler team, and Clemson needs this win to get into the ACC. So they're just going to come out.
I think when Clemson has the pressure on, they move forward pretty well, and they're going to get that win.
Yeah. Cal versus SMU. Taking SMU.
SMU.
Miami versus Syracuse. Syracuse has that Ohio State transfer quarterback, Kyle McCord. He has been nothing but a letdown this year. He started the year off good, with having like averaging 360 yards per game until he started playing teams, and then he just throwing interception. Mike.
I'm with you in Miami.
Arizona State versus Arizona. I'm taking Arizona State.
They are tearing
they're on
teams
a roll.
apart. Yeah, Arizona State, run with them.
Maryland versus Penn State. I got Penn State.
Penn State, yep.
Auburn versus Alabama. The Iron Bowl. I got Auburn. I like how Auburn has been playing these last 3 weeks. I hate how Alabama's been playing, especially with the offensive line.
I'm riding with the Auburn pick.
Oh, shit. Oh, both. Bold
Yeah.
prediction.
Both bold. Too bold.
Arkansas versus Missouri. I got Arkansas.
I'm going to go with Arkansas as well. The Razorbacks run well.
Purdue versus Indiana. I got Indiana bouncing back really good.
Oh, yeah. Purdue's hasn't been putting up the stats
Go
that
Orbs.
any team needs.
Go
Indiana's going to win that.
Kansas State versus Iowa State. I got Iowa State advancing them to the Big 12 title game.
I'm with you. 100%.
Let's go.
They're going to move it.
Washington versus Oregon. Washington, a big letdown this year, joining the Big Ten after going all the way to the championship game. Oregon.
No, it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen in a rivalry game.
I know that, but you were already writing off Michigan, it sounded like, against Ohio State.
But this one's definitely Oregon. Oregon's going to destroy Washington this year.
All right, that Lone Star State rivalry game, Texas versus Texas A&M. I got Texas. Starting this thing out the way it ended, Texas handed Texas A&M a loss before the Aggies joined the SEC, and now the Texas joining SEC, starting right where they left off.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on that one. Same pick.
Nevada versus UNLV. Nevada, I don't have much on you. I have a lot on UNLV, so that's why I'm taking UNLV.
I'm going to go UNLV. I like their offensive coordinator. They run that go-go offense. And that, we actually ran that as well a couple of times this year at the high school level, and it's been fun. I've scouted at UNLV a lot. They've brought that program together in the last few years, and I think they win this game.
All right. Houston versus BYU. Houston, not what it's been in the last 5 years. This team is on a decline. I think hopefully they can rebuild it back to what it's been. But going against BYU, who desperately need to win, and will pull out all the stops at home, taking BYU.
I am also taking BYU. They're at home.
And just for the fun, some other unranked teams, but rivalry week, Florida versus Florida State. Florida Gators eating those Seminoles up.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Florida Gators.
Oklahoma versus LSU.
I'm going to say
I'm going
Oklahoma.
Sooners.
Yes.
Yes.
Sooners, yeah.
And just because I hate Brian Kelly.
He's all right. He's a
He
good
did
coach.
Notre Dame dirty. Son of a bitch. North Carolina versus North Carolina State. I'm going with North Carolina with great news coming that Coach Brown is coming back next year.
I'm going to take North Carolina State as well.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's a good pick, man.
TCU versus Cincinnati. This is a toss-up.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati, actually.
I was going to take Cincinnati as
Just
well.
because I feel like they're going to have a little bit of an edge at home.
Yep.
All
right, but that's going to do it for this episode. If you haven't already, go in and like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever we upload a video. Underneath the video, go down to the description. You're going to find a link to our Facebook page. That's where I put up polls, fun facts. I'm going to put up other videos of doing reactions to Try Not to Laugh. Dumbass videos. I don't no idea what I'm going to do yet, but we're going to put it out there. Like putting content out for all y'all to enjoy. So stay tuned. Check out for that. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.